Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications. Patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Mark Leibovit, editor and publisher of the Leibovit VR newsletters, also known as VRTrader.com. Welcome back to the show, Mark.
Glad to be here, Jim. Thank you.
Mark, Bitcoin took a bit of a hit after Elon Musk said that Tesla would not be accepting any more Bitcoin for payment, citing the environmental damage done by the high energy use to mine Bitcoins. Any thoughts on that?
Well, technically it was extended, and it was acting relatively weak prior to this shake in the last couple of days. In fact, we had traded it and made a little money on the long side and got out 2 or 3 days ago. But Ethereum, ETHE, which is the ETF, Ethereum has been doing a lot better than Bitcoin. So there's been what I'm saying is there's been some relative weakness in Bitcoin relative to the other big name Ethereum and to other hot names out there like the Doggy Coin, Dogecoin, and others that have been recently touted. We can talk about that in a moment. But it was looking technically weak to me. And frankly, the decline, looking at my chart, is, somewhat predictable. I was looking at it the other day before the sell-off, and I said, this thing could drop about $29,000 a coin just on the chart. And I think it got to about 35 or so in trading today. But, it might get to my number, it might not, but it sort of looked like it might get down there. So it to me, it was, either they knew the Elon Musk story was coming, or, it just was getting tired for other reasons. But it doesn't mean it's over. It could mean just a shakeout. We've seen big shakes in Bitcoin before, as we saw in the last, couple, 3 years. So it doesn't mean it's all over. It could just be one hell of a correction, and then you can see Bitcoin at the new highs or even dramatically higher in the months or years ahead. So I wouldn't give up on the coin. I just think it's a short-term technical event, and some had obviously anticipated it because selling started to come in here actually a few weeks ago, according to my work.
Now, Bitcoin accounts have been hacked and millions, maybe billions of dollars lost. Are other types of cryptocurrency more secure?
I'm not the world's expert on the cryptos, but we do put out the blockchain letter, and I think there are others that I would prefer, both from a price point of view and, in terms of their technology and their marketability and their promotion that's associated with them. So there's a couple that we mentioned in our letters. The one that's been getting most publicity, as you know, has been the Dogecoin, comically referred to as the doggy coin, and you've got Elon talking about that, promoting it, saying it's going to the moon, and Mark Cuban talking about it. And I'm looking at the technicals on it, and it looks like it could go ultimately a lot higher. Now, whether it's going to correct in sympathy with Bitcoin or it's doing its own thing, but there are plenty out there. The universe is so large, you got to pick a handful that you believe in. And, a couple I favor myself, but for the most part, you're going to get lost because there's so many, and you got to really be on top of which ones are trading, and you got to be willing to trade these things. This is like the old penny stock days from the Vancouver Exchange. I mean, this is wild stuff. But I'm not negative on them. I think some will survive, many will survive, and I'm not in the camp that says the government's going to suddenly restrict all these and they're going nowhere. I think it's still early in the process. I think there's years and years ahead for the cryptocurrencies for a lot of reasons, including loss of faith in the government and the faith in currency, one's privacy and so forth. There's a lot of reasons why a lot more is going to come in the months and years ahead. So I'm bullish. It's just like anything else, like we just discussed Bitcoin. You got to know when the chart says it's overdone. I mean, just prior to Elon Musk's appearance on Saturday Night Live last week, the Dogecoin, the doggy coin, was running up. I mean, the thing was probably, a fraction of a penny, and it got up, I think, to 70 cents, and then sold off into the low 40s or high 30s after the broadcast. A lot of the smart traders were selling it ahead of the show, knowing that, sell the news, buy the rumor, sell the news, the old expression. So it went into, and probably may still be in a little correction here. But what the point I'm making is you got, unless you're just in it, say I'm going to own some of this for a 5 or 10 year time frame. I'm just in it because I think it's the future. Other than that, you got to be trading this stuff.
We'll have more with Mark Leibovit right after this.
Engineer Gold Mines is focused on the exploration and development of the historic high-grade Engineer Gold Mine situated 32 kilometers southwest of Atlin, British Columbia. Engineer Gold Mines is fully permitted for surface and underground exploration with the drill program now underway. Engineer Gold Mines Limited trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol EAU. For more information, please visit us at engineergoldmines.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Mark Leibovit. Mark, after a few down days, all the major stock markets in New York rebounded on Thursday. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, we've been bearish. We sort of warned you and your listeners about this, and it's very simple. Of course, there are other reasons, including our forecast model, which is one of our products in our newsletter, by the way, the VR Forecaster. But the old expression, sell may go away, seems to at least it had some effect here. I got criticized. I got some emails from people, it doesn't work all the time, and why are you talking about it? Yeah, it doesn't work all the time, but you can say the Santa Claus rally doesn't work all the time, or Turnaround Tuesday doesn't work all the time, or the various seasonal things that I write about in my newsletter, like the vernal equinox or the summer solstice, the times that often are coincident with changes of direction in the markets. I mean, there's all kinds of seasonal and cyclical forces out there. The sell may go away has been a repeated event for many years. Nothing always works, but, there has been a tendency for weakness from May into the fall. And that sort of made sense, but to me, the markets were just way overdone. I mean, and not only that, we were seeing negative divergences for weeks and weeks in the NASDAQ high-tech stocks. They topped out way back here weeks and weeks ago, a couple exceptions, but, divergences there were sort of warning that you might get a pullback. And, fear of higher interest rates. The market's telling us, we talked about this several weeks ago, that, or even longer, that there were signs that rates may be turning up here. And the fear, the U.S. Fed, sort of downplaying it and ignoring it, but a point's going to come where they can't. And the market may be anticipating that they're going to start to raise rates, even though they're, again, officially saying they're not going to. Market doesn't like that. And then, of course, there's so many things going on, Jim. I mean, we got insanity in the White House, higher taxes, open borders. We can run down the list of what's going on. What else is going on out there? There's a story that I put in my newsletter. You may have seen it. I'm trying to pull it up here. There was a story about nuclear reactions at Chernobyl that might be a cause for concern. There's been some measurements that sensors detected increased levels of neutrons in Chernobyl. We've had some increased solar activity recently. I put this in my newsletter every day, solar flares and stuff that could affect the planet. We can go on and on and on. So there's a lot of things going on out there. So there's uncertainty. What's going on in Israel right now? Could be war in the Mideast, or are we concerned that China is going to come into Taiwan, and are we going to react to that, or we're not going to react to that? I mean, the list is so long of things that can go wrong, and one could argue, we're just going to climb a wall of worry, and these are just negative events, but the charts don't seem to be saying that. So if I see something in the charts that say, it's just another little blip, and we're going back up to new highs, that would sort of fight the seasonality patterns, but the volume's sort of been negative. So what we did was we were playing the short side with the total stock market index, and we made a little money on the short side. We actually covered yesterday and a day or two before that. We were playing it 2 or 3 days, trying to catch some of the down move there in our newsletter. So I covered yesterday, and I said, well, let's wait for a rally today to get back short again. So we stuck our toe back in the water just a little bit today on the short side, though I think it maybe could rally a little bit more. With my near-term work bearish, I'd rather have at least some position on the short side, because if this thing falls apart, I mean, there's a lot of distance between where the market is now and where it was in March and April of 2020. I mean, if a serious correction unfolds, we could drop, some really big numbers. So it's good to have a little insurance there.
We'll have more with Mark Leibovit right after this.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Mark Leibovit. Mark, I know you like to talk about geocosmic events. Something that's just happened is a probe has landed on an asteroid, taken a large sample this time, and is now flying back to Earth. We'll find out what's in that sample in about 2 years. It takes a while to travel those vast distances, but one of our listeners was poo-pooing the idea of mining asteroids. This proves that you can do it. And what if they did find something super valuable on an asteroid? Would it be worth the cost to go after it?
Absolutely. And my view is, is not the mainstream view by any stretch, and it's a result of a lot of intuition on my part, a lot of research, anecdotal stories that I've read, interviews I've overheard with people that are supposedly in the know in the space program who are told not to say certain things. And it's been my view for a long time that we've been running a secret space program. Forget the one that you just notify, which is more official, that we have things going on out there would blow the mind of the average person in terms of what we are capable of doing, what we may already have been doing in terms of, like you're suggesting, mining on an asteroid, and how about bases that we may already have on the moon that we fantasize that we're going to have a moon base, but what if I told you it's already been there, possibly for several decades, and possibly even one on Mars. I mean, these are all anecdotal stuff that I've been researching that is so unbelievable that I feel there's a seed of truth in these stories and this research that I've been doing. But this is for many, many years. There's stuff going on out there. Many of these unidentified flying objects that we see may indeed be our own craft that we have either retrofitted from alien craft, or we just have some super science that the average person is unaware of, that's been developed by our defense ministries, or by private corporations over the years. And there's just stuff going on out there that I sort of view all the stuff that's going on in the world as sort of distraction for some of the real important stuff. I mean, just to imagine if we are mining the asteroids now, or we actually have workable bases on another planet, and we got other stuff going out there, all this other stuff that's happening, whether interest rates go up or whether the stock market goes up and down, are just distractions from the big picture things that could be happening to our planet and to our civilization. So I sort of try to take that perspective looking at everything. I mean, there's some crazy stuff. I mean, the government denied that Area 51 even existed for years. I mean, we know there's secret programs going on, and it's not only the U.S., so all the major, countries are involved in, secretive projects and technology and stuff. So it's kept secret from us. And, for their own selfish purposes or for power reasons or all kinds of stuff that we could envision. So, I'm sort of in that camp, and, I don't think it's conspiracy. I think it's a reflection of reality and of the desire of those in power to maintain and increase their power. And unfortunately, that's part of the game. So here we are looking at the stock market, and we try to make some money trading it and do all those fun things, and we'll continue to do that. But I like looking at all this other cool stuff because I just think there's greater stories and greater events out there besides what we read in the newspapers. And when we see events like COVID and so forth, my first reaction when it happened is this is a cover-up for something else that's happening that we're not supposed to know about, and we're being distracted. There's actually some stories now I'm reading about how, this is like the first step. They got us to wear masks and to get us vaccinated, and the next thing they're going to know is they're going to tell us because of global warming or some other cockamamie story, we're going to have to wear masks again, and they're going to try to control us in some other ways. And this is just the first step of government control. So got to be cognizant of these things out there. And the real question is whether we're going to fight it or we're going to play along with these guys and stand up for our freedoms, or we're just going to play along and accept it. So this is really the big question, ahead for all of us. And there's a lot of tangents to this discussion. But anyway, hopefully I covered your question.
Mark, if this is all part of a big plan, is there any way to keep your wealth, make wealth, or is the government just going to confiscate it and put us into camps?
I sure hope that's not the case, Jim. I guess that all could happen. I mean, they imprisoned Japanese during World War II when they didn't need to do that. The government's capable of doing anything, and I would hope that's not the case. I hope that greed, even in communist China, we don't want to be under communist control, but obviously there's communist Chinese that are billionaires. So apparently, even with totalitarian control, there are some that will still maintain their ability to make money for themselves or the government, and whether that'll filter down to the average person or not, only time will tell. I'm very fearful of that. I'm going to try to stay more optimistic that even the idiots that are in Washington and all the socialists and communists out there, they still look to make money and they still want to enrich their lives. So there'll still be a capitalistic streak in all of these guys, no matter what their other political beliefs might be. And with that said, then, there should be money to be made somewhere. There's an expression, there's a bull market somewhere, and these guys, will be involved in doing that. And whether it's new technology, whether it's the cryptocurrency world, which I see is still being more explosive, as I mentioned a few moments ago, whether it's things that we discover on asteroids, as you referred to in the past, or maybe it's contact with other civilizations from other worlds that we may already be in contact with, that may also spur that economic growth and technological advancement. So a lot of a big interesting future. In my age, though I like to live to 120, as they say in the Old Testament, I'm in my 70s. I don't know if I'm going to see all that in my lifetime, but I sure hope I see some of it.
Well, Doug Casey was telling me if you can just hold on for 7 or 8 years, you'll be able to regrow your own organs. You can just give them some DNA samples. You need a new heart or set of lungs, just grow a new set.
It may already be happening, experimental, in some super science lab somewhere, and whether that's going to be available to us mortals soon enough, only time will tell. But I know I read about that technology too. I mean, the very wealthy don't want to die. I mean, nobody wants to die. So if you're super wealthy and you're super billionaire, I mean, there's always that story, remember, going back decades with Walt Disney having died and he was frozen, and the hope that cure would be discovered for lung cancer that got him, and he would be brought back to life at some point in the future. So, there's the billionaires out there. Maybe they're already working on the artificial organs and cyber technology and doing all this kind of stuff, so they live not forever, a lot longer. So I would hope that that is all coming. But then you got crazies out there like Bill Gates, who talk about too many people on Earth and how we need to reduce the population. And these are in some papers that he had been associated with, I had read. There's some crazies out there that want to exterminate part of the human race and, control it. So you got both sides of the equation here. I guess the super rich want to live forever and kill off the majority, and unfortunately, that may be part of the story.
Mark, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Have a great week. Talk to you next week. And as they say, there's going to be there's a bull market somewhere, or an opportunity. There's always opportunity, and we'll try to find it for you guys.
My guest has been Mark Leibovit, editor and publisher of the Leibovit VR newsletters, also known as vrtrader.com. If you have any questions for Mark or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@housestreet.com, our YouTube channel, Talk Digital Network. Find us on Twitter @HouseStreet. We're also on Facebook. I'm Jim Goddard. Thank you for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.